So officially welcome to our last of our 4 educational sessions for recipients of the Thinking Money for Kids program kits. It's wonderful to see such a great turnout again for training number 4. I'm Sarah Osman, Deputy Director of ALA's Public Programs Office. Our topic for today is Beyond the Kit, and we are going to cover quite a few things today. We're going to start with a discussion of some strategies for how to adapt the 5 kit games for larger groups. Next, we are excited to welcome Dr. Erin Yetter of the University of Delaware to discuss the wide world of financial education resources available to your library. After a Q&A with Erin, we will move into breakout groups, followed by a share out in this main room. A few housekeeping notes: your mic should be muted. You will be invited to come off mute later for the breakout sessions. If you have questions for our presenter or for ALA staff, please use the Q&A. Use your chat to connect with your fellow attendees. So several of you commented in an earlier session that you expected large turnouts for your programs. One option we mentioned was hosting a game night so that you would have various stations with the different games and kids could move from one to another. But we wanted to give you some more options. So the following slides are some ideas that we came up with our game designers. First is Making Moolah. In its original form, Making Moolah is designed as a collaborative simulation for 2 to 6 players. But to accommodate more players, you can print your own life-size board games and tape them to the floor. We are creating those items, and they will be available on the website soon. You can play in teams that will allow you to double the number of players. And we are also creating a tabletop version of the game that will allow you to host multiple games at once. That is coming soon to the website as well. Penny Pinter's Party is our party planning game, and this one is fairly easy to scale up. The game comes with 6 planning boards right in the game box. You can have kids work in teams to compete to make the best party. That will accommodate up to 18 kids. You can also host a party, print more party pieces to accommodate even more players at the same time. Additional party pieces are available on the website, both in the standard version and in colorable format, and you can play following the standard directions. In PetSense, kids move around the room, visiting various stations to buy items that they need for their pets. To accommodate more players, you can print additional pet cards from the website, and just allow a little more time for the kids to get to all of the various stations. Another option, if you have enough volunteers or staff, is to double up on the number of stations. So for instance, you would have 2 vet stations. You can print additional station cards, station signs, and menus from the website. Piggy Bank Theater lends itself well to larger groups. There are materials on the website to create your own spend and earn paddles. We have files available in both 5-inch and 7-inch sizes, which conveniently can be taped to a small or a standard sized paper plate. You can turn that into a crafting activity, and the kids can color in their own paddles. Just paste on a popsicle stick, and you have as many signs as needed. You can also swap out the storybook for projections or bring in volunteer actors to perform a live play using the script version of the story, which is also on the website. And last but not least, we have Currency Conga. This is the game where players touch pieces of currency on a game mat to improve their currency and money math skills. We are in the process of designing printable currency so you can assemble additional mats on the floor. Again, we recommend laminating those since kids will be putting their hands and feet on them. You can also print the currency in display or hide them in the library for a scavenger hunt type event. We are all about experimenting and adapting, so we would love to know what you come up with. If you have other ideas, we have already started a Connect thread for this discussion, so please head there and share your thoughts. Now I would like to introduce our presenter for the afternoon. Dr. Erin Yetter serves as a visiting assistant professor at the University of Delaware. Since receiving her PhD in economic education from the University of Delaware, she has dedicated her career to economic education, demonstrating versatility with experience in industry and academia. Her research focuses on pedagogical strategies in economics and exploring potential biases in teaching evaluations. Beyond her scholarly pursuits, Dr. Yetter also currently serves on the executive committee for the National Association for Economic Educators and volunteers as a coach for the Meaningful Economics Club at a local elementary school. Thank you for being here, Erin, and I'll turn the mic over to you.
Yay, thank you for having me, and thank you for all of you attending. I am so excited to be here and to see all these great cities and states represented. I lived in Kentucky for almost 10 years. So shout out to my Kentucky friends. I saw you, and I lived in Florida and Arizona. I've been all over. So glad to see you all. Thank you. And I'm going to share my screen now and go in here. Perfect. So this is me. If you would like to, I didn't put my email address anywhere. You guys are certainly welcome to email me if you have any questions after you get going with this. You can also follow me on the social media site formerly known as Twitter. Its new name is very dumb and I hate it. So I will forever and always you know how Prince became the artist formerly known as Prince? That's the social media site formerly known as Twitter. So come along and learn with me. Agenda. So what we're going to go through is where to find high quality financial literacy and economic education resources. These are the places that I'm going to recommend to you, and I'm going to show you their websites. Screenshots, if we have time, I'll actually go through as well. Then I'm going to show you, say you find something not at one of these places, how can you evaluate if it is a high quality resource or not? Because unfortunately, there are some low quality resources out there, and we want to make sure that you're using the best of the best. So, and then I'm going to end with some of my favorite lessons. And this is not an exhaustive list by any means, because there's so much great stuff out there, but just pulling out a few. And then everything, you're going to get the slides, as that was already mentioned in the chat. All the stuff that I'm sharing with you, I have then linked in the description or in the speaker's notes of the Google Slides. So if I mention a website or I'm showing you a form or a lesson, it is all right there. You don't need to remember anything I'm saying other than just listening in, because it's all there for you. Whoops, here we go. Okay, so let's talk about where to go. First and foremost, this is a surprise, I think, for most people. You have likely heard of the Federal Reserve, and being that it is the United States Central Bank and does our monetary policy, but you may not be aware that the Federal Reserve also supports education initiatives. They do so in 10 out of the 12 districts. And I have this map up here so that you can see where the districts are, where you might lie. So the big dots are the district headquarters, and the little black dots are where they would have branches. And they all provide, with the exception of two, San Francisco and Boston are the only districts that do not have an education team. All the rest do, and they provide resources, training, and materials, and for not only for students, but for community members as well. So I know the focus of this is younger, but there's a whole wide variety of people out in our communities that might benefit from financial literacy resources, and the Fed has those. Several of the places I'm going to mention today do. So if you are nearby one of these districts, you could go there for additional training should you wish. All of it is at no cost, but they all also offer webinars, and then you can just access their websites again at no cost to you. So the three that I want to highlight are the best three. I am partial to say that because I worked at this one, Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, for 6 years. I was their economic education specialist in the Louisville branch. So the St. Louis Fed has been doing this for a long time, and you can see this is just a screenshot of their education portal, but they have it very nicely separated out by grade levels. And then you can also sort and search by upcoming events. You can join their newsletter, all kinds of great stuff. Hopefully, time permitting, I'll be able to show you around their website because it's very robust and very user-friendly, but it's nice to just even see it. So highly recommend Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis as one of the places that you stop by and look at their materials. Second up would be the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia. This is their education portal. They offer teacher training programs, lessons plans. They have really lovely historical information, right? Because Philadelphia used to be our capital. And so they have a lot of tying in with kind of historical aspects of economics as well. And then Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta does a lot of really great stuff. Again, all of these feds are doing lessons, they're doing professional development opportunities. The ones I'm mentioning also have museums. So if you are nearby and wanted to go check out their museum, you could do that as well. And then all of the Federal Reserves who have these economic education teams, they run their material up to one macro site, which is federalreserveeducation.org, so FRE.org. And you might say, Erin, well, why didn't you mention this first? If everything's on this one site, why don't you just tell us about this one site? And the answer is, this site is not as user-friendly. Now that I don't work at the Fed, I can say that it's not as user-friendly as I think it should be because it is 10 different districts kind of putting their materials all on there. So sometimes links are broken and it's not perfect. It's good, but it's not great. So if I were you to get the latest and greatest, I would go directly to the source because they're always going to maintain and take care of their individual websites first and foremost. And then the second big reason is that St. Louis Fed is the highest volume producer of materials. So on this site, which all 10 districts push up to, 60% of the material is from the St. Louis Fed alone. So you can get a lot of material by just going to their site. So, but this is a good place to just, if you're like, I don't want to shop around, I just want to see it all in one place. And you can see I highlighted resources by audience. They have it separated out by grade bands, but then also for adult learners as well. Okay, next place, okay, leaving the Fed, next place we got to talk about is the Council for Economic Education. The Council is the OG of economic education providers. They have been around, their new logo is saying, they have been around for 75 years, which is a long time to be doing this kind of work. They are a nonprofit doing this work out in New York City, and they are focused on teachers and students. So they do teacher, student, and family programming. They have this really lovely program called Invest in Girls that is all about getting girls interested in economics and personal finance. They do a national economics and a national personal finance challenge at the high school level. They do a conference every year. It actually just occurred this past weekend in Cleveland. They provide awards. They do curriculum resources via Econ EdLink, which we're also going to look at. And then they do policy. They're advocate for policy, trying to get more states to adopt requirements, well, first and foremost standards, but then ultimately requirements for economics and personal finance education. So let's look specifically at that policy advocate part. So in the clicker or the setup questions, we asked, do you know if your district requires personal finance? Here we are looking at the survey of states. So the survey of states is a biannual survey that the council does, and they report on the status of personal finance and economic education across the country. So we can see a map here, and if you look at the key, so only, where are we at? Two states and the District of Columbia don't require it in their standards, California, Alaska, and DC, but everybody else at least has it in their standards. So that's good news, yay. And then the different keys tell you, is it required to be implemented? Is it required that a high school course be taken? Or is it integrated into another course? Unfortunately, we would love for it to be a standalone course. It's usually done as either sometimes a math elective or a social studies elective, but oftentimes because the curriculum is already packed, they'll integrate it into something else. So it will be like algebra and personal finance or something like that, which is, if they're getting it, they're getting it. And then we see what 2 states, that require standardized testing on personal finance. So this is updated. This is the most recent one. It comes out in even years. It'll be updated again in 2026. And just wanted to show you the trend over time. So the trend is going up, right? More states are adopting personal finance. So this is, luckily, is the trend going in the right direction for people who do the work like I do. We like to see this. That's positive news that people are recognizing the importance of being able to manage your own personal finances, right? And how important and critical of a role it plays in your everyday life. So yay, keep an eye on that if you are interested. So as I already mentioned too, that the council supports a curriculum resource website, and that is called Econ EdLink. And you can go there and get all the personal finance related resources, videos, assessments, activities, all of that good stuff. And this is all at no cost to you as well. The council does have some pay resources, but they're free. I say no cost as an economist. Their no cost resources are high quality as well. And their website, Econ EdLink, is very user friendly. It's easy to search. You can do a keyword search if you're just looking for something about how to talk about savings. You can do savings and it'll pop up. It's very lovely. So it's user friendly for sure. Talking a lot. Gonna take a sip of water. Give me 1 second. Okay, so the National Association of Economic Educators, it was mentioned that I am on their executive committee. This is a national organization of people who just care about economic education. Some people do this promoting it and working it for their full-time jobs. Other people like me are a professor of economics and just a part of this organization because we believe in the mission. But the nice thing about this organization is that it's nationwide. So the council says they cover the country, but they're really hosted in New York and very New York centric. NIE, as we call it, NIE is across the country. So there is a NIE representative somewhere near you. I'm going to show you a map in a second. So they also offer, I'm a part of it. All the members have a like macro shared calendar that we put our upcoming professional development opportunities on, so you can see everything that's going on across the nation. And if you can join, it'll be like a webinar, or if it's in person, it'll tell you the location. They also put out they do a call for lesson plans, and then they judge the lesson plans based on their rubric, which I'll show you in a second. And then all the lesson plans that actually win awards get posted on their website. So a lot of these will come from the sources I'm mentioning to you. So for example, the Federal Reserve might submit a lesson that they put out there, but then all the winners are posted on this one site. So then you for sure know it's a high quality resource because it has won an award. And then I just wanted to post and show you this map so you can see all the places that NIE is represented. This map is actually a little outdated. We're working on updating it this year. It's part of our challenge to get it updated. But there is a council or a center for economic education near you, and they are doing the work of all this too. They are producing resources, they're doing training. They might come and speak. If you wanted to have an extra event, they would be willing to come and come to your event likely and help you out and help you run it. So these are amazing people and do amazing work. Highly recommend reaching out to any of them. And then last is the Conical, which is our newest in the bunch. And it just started 2 years ago, but what is unique about them and what I like so much is that they offer professional development, and they offer it in 2 different versions. They offer synchronous virtual. So everything is online. Everything is online. They're based out of Arizona, but everything's online. They always do 60-minute or 75-minute via Zoom and start at 7 Eastern time. Or if you're like, that's too late, kind of like me, I'm like, I'm tired at 7 o'clock. You can do on-demand modules. So if you wanted to have, you're like, I'm not comfortable talking to my community about credit. I need some more training on that. You could go through either one of their programs or one of their on-demand programs. This is just an example of some things that they've had going on. And I wanted to point out to you, my lovely librarians, that they have a book club going on. Thought you guys would think that that was cool. And then also 6 econ books in 60 minutes. So they are doing stuff based in literature as well. And then here's some of their upcoming programs. I'm just screenshotting some things that they have coming up. They also are working on a high school kind of how would you teach these things all and when to teach it. So that's a little like high school basket all in one, which is really helpful for teachers. And this is just telling when those things are rolling out. So you can see that they're going to have a personal finance entire unit. How would you teach this in a course? It's just a good resource for you guys to know for your community members. If there's a new teacher saying like, oh my gosh, I got this personal finance class dropped in my lap, I don't know what I'm going to do. They could just take a Econiful's entire package and roll it out and teach it in a semester. It would be lovely. Okay. Yeah, I'm doing good. Just checking my time. So how to evaluate resources and national content standards to do so. So NIE, that I already mentioned, developed a set of rubrics. People were wondering, how can I know if something is high quality or not? And we initially did it with just lesson plans, but not everything fits in the lesson plan category. So we did it in these other categories as well. They actually live, the NIE rubrics actually live on the St. Louis Fed's website, but they are accessible on NIE too. It's just hidden. But this is what they look like. And you can go through and, use the rubric to judge because it's telling you exactly what you should be looking for. Are the finance concepts, personal finance concepts, exclusively identified and fully explained? Are they correctly defined? All of this information, you could use this to judge a resource if you found it elsewhere. And these are tied to the national content standards in personal finance education, which was done by the council in conjunction with Jumpstart, the Jumpstart Coalition for Personal Financial Literacy. They are based out of DC, the National Council, and then they have affiliates in most of the 50 states. Jumpstart would be another lovely organization that you could reach out to. And the standards are organized around 6 topics, and they are benchmarked at 4, 8, and 12. So I was just going to show you the first one. So this is the earning income standard, and it's so when it means grade 4 benchmark, it's saying by grade 4. So they're not saying this has to be first grade, second grade. It's just saying by the end of grade 4, these are the things that we would expect students to know and be able to do in personal finance with respect to earning income. And by grade 8, and then they have them by grade 12 as well. So you can see the different things that a group of experts has put together, thinking that children should be able to do by the time that they are out of high school. And then this is something new to me. I learned something new coming into this presentation, that RUSA has financial literacy education for libraries. So best practice and guidelines for you. And this is linked in there as well. So it's like a set of standards for librarians about personal finance. How cool. And then my favorite lessons. I'm doing so good. Woo. All right, Clifford. Everyone loves Clifford. I love Clifford so much. He's my baby. I actually wrote this lesson. It is about risk, and there's a big storm coming, and about how we take steps to protect ourselves from risk. And Clifford takes steps to protect himself in this lesson against risk. And risk is in the personal finance content standards and talking about it. Uncle Jed's Barber Shop, award-winning, just excellent, excellent book. But did you know that it has economics and personal finance in it? Opportunity cost, savings goals. There's actually a bank failure that happens. And the activity that goes along with this lesson is so lovely. They're like rolling dice and trying to save up. And then the dice, depending on what they roll, they add or subtract. And it shows how you could be saving up for something, but then something else comes up. You got to pay for a car repair, and it takes away. So it gives like real life scenarios and shows them how, even when we're trying to reach a savings goal, it's hard to do so. Sometimes life gets in the way. Alexander, who used to be rich last Sunday. This one actually is tied in with math, economics, and personal finance. So there's a bar chart in here activity, and they create a bar chart to show how Alexander, who gets money and all the things that he spends it on, and how he ends up with nothing at the end. And similarly is less than zero. These are lovely books by Stuart J. Murphy. If you're not familiar, they are math-based starts, and there's levels 1, 2, and 3. So it's teaching math concepts. This one teaches negative numbers, but it actually teaches about borrowing and interest in savings, because this is Perry the Penguin. He is trying to save up to get an ice scooter, but he keeps spending his money instead. And so the students follow along using a number line and a penny, and it's really, really cute. And then Little Critter, he's fun. He's trying to save up for a skateboard and doing things to earn money. And then it talks about banks and what is money, and a bank is a safe place for us to keep our money. And then at the end, he gets his money and doesn't actually buy the skateboard. He gets a talking robot instead. It's a very cute book. So I am done precisely on time, because I set my timer for 20 minutes. Like, I don't know if anyone wants to clap for me that I did that, but I'm really proud of myself. So
I'm clapping for you, Erin.
Thank you. For questions and answers. So we have like 5 minutes for you guys to ask me anything you want. I'm going to stop sharing. And I know I talked fast, so I'm happy to go over any of that more slowly or whatever you would like.
Thank you so much, Erin. Feel free to, oh, you're getting more applause.
All right. Thank you, Heidi.
Please feel free to enter your questions for Erin into the Q&A feature. I will read them out. I have a question just to get us started, and that is, what are some red flags to watch for in financial education resources? Because it sounds like they're not all as good as what you shared with us today.
Yeah, some red flags are I would say extremes. So things like never do this or always do that. If a curriculum package is taking a very extreme view on anything, that's usually something to be a little cautious about. There's some curriculum out there that advocates for never using credit in any fashion. You should always just save up all the money you can and buy everything in cash. And that's a nice thing to perhaps strive for, but one of the responsible use of credit is not a bad thing. And that's what we need to be teaching, is the responsible behaviors associated with using credit. And the lovely thing about credit is it allows us to use things while we pay them off, right? If you have a car note, you get to drive your car while you're paying it off. I like to be able to do that. And if I'm doing it responsibly by having a down payment and paying my payments on time and having insurance, then it's a fine thing to do, right? It's where people get in trouble is when they're irresponsible with it. So that would be my word of caution, is just watch out for extreme views.
We have another question. Is it possible for librarians to become involved in state level jumpstart organizations?
Yes, absolutely. They would love to have you.
And that's jumpstart with a $sign for the S.
It is. Yes. And most states have a Jumpstart Coalition. Some states are more active than others. It just depends on your state, but absolutely reach out. They would love to have you, because I would venture to guess that not a lot of librarians are involved, and they would love to know how they can partner with you and, advocate for financial literacy.
Any other questions for Erin?
Erin, this is Robert. I noticed as you were talking, it seemed like at this age in particular, numeracy is a big component of financial literacy. And I'm wondering if you could maybe share some strategies or thoughts about how to integrate those two things, and why it might be particularly appealing to collaborations with local school districts?
Yeah, so I think the biggest benefit is that you're kind of killing two birds with one stone, right? You get to work on numeracy and work on the skill of financial literacy, right? So we are counting coins, but we are also then recognizing the value and the denomination of those coins. And then we're putting them in order. And then we're sorting, we could be doing other things like we're doing like what coins are a similar size, which ones are different, which color is different. So like they just have all these beautiful extensions as well. So I think that's the best. That's the best sell, like, right? Because teachers are always so pressed for time. And they have an impossible task to teach all the things that they have to teach in a day. How can they get it all in? And they can get it all in by working on personal finance at the same time that they're also working on their numeracy, right? I think. And it also gives, oh, sorry, I thought I was done saying, but also thinking it gives a real world application to it, right? Kids, right? Numbers and the ability to work with numbers and count is important, but it's important in the real world because we have to do that every day when we do things like figure out how much we can spend at the grocery store this week. Is it in our budget? And it gives real world applications, personal finance does, to what they're learning in school in their curriculum.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Erin. If you have any last questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat. I am going to introduce the breakout groups. We are going to stop recording at this point. Neither this main room nor the breakout group